Hello there, this is Ariel Levy, one half of the South American Alliance, the CCW World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions of the World, and you're listening to Wrestling Paradox Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Wrestling Paradox Podcast once again. Oh my God, what an episode. It is the most lit episode of the summer tonight. I was supposed to bring you this, or we were supposed to bring you this episode. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. We were supposed to bring you this episode about 3 weeks ago, but unfortunately, this gentleman could not make it. You know, his schedule's just, it was very tight and very hard to squeeze him in. But before we get into all of that, M&J Ecological, 305-697-2258. Make sure you guys check them out. Numbers right here. Make sure you guys check out CCWFL on Twitter. If you want to become a wrestler and you are in the state of Florida, there's only one place to do it, and that is CCW FL on Twitter. Coastal Championship Wrestling. They've been in business about 17 years. We got the anniversary show coming up, and this is being shot before the anniversary show, and we have a very, very special guest. But before we get into all that, Chris, what's up, man? How you doing tonight, bro?
Living the dream.
Are you living a lit dream?
Oh, I'm lit.
It's about to get real lit up in here because, ladies and gentlemen, we have the most lit superstar in the building. Everybody, I just got nothing else to say. Sebastian Cage.
Yo, what's happening?
Welcome to the Paradox, Sebastian Cage.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be up in here. You guys are doing great.
Oh,
I love everything you guys do. You guys always show love when you're on the show. When I come through to Florida, so you know the vibe. Straight from New York, with this cold weather, but we here, baby. What's up?
That's it. Well, it's gonna be warm weathers for you soon because I believe it's this weekend we have a Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, and we're getting you for the Friday and Saturday show, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, I'm up Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
You're gonna be at Hardcore Cup this Thursday.
I'm at Hardcore Cup, baby.
Okay, so when all this airs, this is going to air after those events.
Okay, that's cool.
So we really can't get people peek behind the curtain because we don't know what's gonna happen. But I can tell you, Sebastian Cage is gonna be picking up some W's. This weekend.
Sure. That is a fact.
It's hands down without a fact. So Sebastian Cage, I want to jump right into this. I know you're on a time crunch tonight, but we're gonna get through this interview and we're gonna make it great. So first things first, I kind of want to dive into New York. You had people, and we've talked about this before with Benny Blanco, such people as Matt Travis, who really did so much for the wrestling community of New York. I did not know Matt Travis when he was alive. When he passed away, unfortunately, so soon, or too soon. That's where it really came to life and who he was and what he did for the community in New York. How did Matt Travis's impact relay on to Sebastian Cage in becoming the most lit superstar in the game right now?
Well, I knew Matty from a while. Like I met him in BWF in the Bronx. There was a school in the Bronx. He used to come by with his friend Joe Smooth. I knew both of them from there, and it was brief. You know, the first few times we met was brief. We'll train and talk over there here and there because he didn't last there a while. He would just come through, do train and stuff. Then he got involved with House of Glory Wrestling, and he just like basically kept himself in that school for a while. You know, we would talk here and there, but he was just like focused on his career in there. You know what I mean? Then once he kind of broke away and he went out, to the indie scene, and then he started to, wrestle places like the Combat Zone and the GCW and play and Magic. That's when we kind of got like real tight. Because we would talk consistently. We would talk consistently on the phone, or we would talk through Instagram. And he was always a motivator, bro. Like he was always a motivator. He had a good heart. He was blunt and real. Like he was straight up real. Like this dude would tell you, dude, you had a good match. You had a bad match. You know what I mean? Like
sometimes that's what people need to hear nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. He was definitely somebody who was out there. Young, very talented, at a young age, and it was tragic to lose him at a young age because he had so much more to offer to the business and also to the boys. He was a great dude, like straight up, like, and people tend to be too sensitive nowadays. So when somebody tells you, oh, you're not doing too well, you need to work on this and that, people don't like to hear that. But I do, because, you know, I like to learn and I like to get better. And he was a guy who would, you know, say it like it is. You know what I mean? He's very, very blunt, very real. You know what I mean? And he still is an inspiration to all of us to keep pushing forward and, you know, have good matches and get to the top, because that's what he was all about. He was all about getting there and doing your shit like you're supposed to, the right way, you know? So.
Very nice. Very. What I do want to ask is, you know, we can talk about CCW down here and we can talk about everything down here, but I want to open up people's eyes to the New York scene. And I feel like you have so much in your heart to talk about with New York. I want to give you that platform for you to speak on that. So with the New York wrestling scene, what is the differences that you see from the Northeast, like New York, down to Florida? Like what changes when you go from locker room to locker room? Is there a difference? Do you feel a different presence or?
I mean, when I was in Florida, I was treated with a lot of love, you know? I mean, it's not much of a difference, but I will say that up here in New York, we have a bit of a different style, I would say. Like the wrestling is a little more, I feel like, and I don't want to sound like you know, I'm putting New York above everywhere else, because there's great wrestlers everywhere. But you have a different style over here, and here in New York, you know, you have a mixture of a lot of different styles that get, you know, in like it's like a gumbo. We all get mixed in. Like you got, you know, the big guys, and you got the cruiserweights, and you got the technical guys. So, you know, it's just a mixture of all those styles clashing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, that's what I would say is different. But as far as like the locker rooms, I would say in Florida, I was treated with a lot of love and respect, which I appreciate. You know, shout out to everybody that was cool to me over there. Over here, there's a little bit of egos, you know, hanging around, which is the truth. And, you know, a lot of politics and things like that I don't like to get involved with, because, you know, I'm not into the politicking and the going back and forth. You know, I'm more into like, let's help each other so we can get farther together, you know, because we're going to get farther together as a group instead of, you know, everybody fending for themselves. But, you know, there's a lot of that here in New York, you know what I mean? But as far as the wrestling, yeah, we got our own style. And, you know, I feel like there's, I'm not going to say in the whole states, but in New York and the New York scene and the, you know, upstate, like up here, like, you know, Mass and Rhode Island and Connecticut and you know, New Jersey, we have a lot of great wrestlers, you know, coming out of the Northeast. So yeah.
Definitely.
That's
Well, you guys have the
it.
most lit superstar and the best big man in the business. I don't know how New York stays intact. So right here is where, Chris, take it away.
Okay, so now you mentioned Combat Zone earlier. I think people get the misconception of Combat Zone because they think of deathmatch wrestling and everything like that. I saw you wrestle on, I think it was like either High Spots or something like that. You wrestled Ace Austin in Dojo Wars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like, cool. So you had the likes of yourself, Ace Austin, Connor Claxton back then. You know,
Navarro.
Yeah.
You had Jordan Oliver. A lot of the guys that you see now, they were there. They came from there.
Yeah.
MJF himself. He was in Dojo Wars.
I think, didn't you guys have a match together, or like a tryout match?
We had a couple of matches. We had like 3 matches, and the last match we had was a submission match.
Wow. See, like it was no one like gets that. No one sees that side. It's like stereotyping basically.
Yeah, that was not what that company was all about. They had their blood and guts for their blood and gut fans, but they also had a lot of talented technical wrestlers, a lot of high flyers. They had a lot of everything, bro. They had great women matches. They had great storylines, which was, you know, obviously rated R. because that wasn't a friendly show, but you know, they had a lot of everything, bro. They had AR Fox there. He was the champ, and you know what I mean. He was the wire champion for a couple of times. So they had a lot of great wrestling, bro. Outside of the hardcore and blood and guts, you know. So
back then you had a year-long storyline. It was Chris Hero and somebody else, and it went to I think it was an Iron Man match, and Chris Hero couldn't beat him, and like it went to a draw or something like that. It
Yeah,
was just so many storylines on the CZW
it
that
had
no one
great
sees.
shows.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a big misconception with that. I think that's also happening with GCW as well, because they do have, I'm not gonna say they like the new CZW because they own thing, but they have a little bit of mixture. You know what I mean? And it's like people get the misconception like, oh, these guys are all about the hardcore, and it's not true. You know, they have everything that you want to watch there. You know, so shout out to everybody, all my boys working in those companies. You know,
There you go.
Definitely. So to fast forward real quick, I kind of just want to give people a peek into the future on what you have coming up. And we've already discussed you have these 3 dates coming up this weekend, but something that's coming up that's going to not even happen when this gets aired is OCW, okay, Original Championship Wrestling, formerly known as Ocala Championship Wrestling. You are going in there and you are facing Apollo Jr. I believe it
Apollo
is.
Jr. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
what
sir.
is it? Price, something like that?
Dude, that guy is one of the most unorthodox wrestlers I've ever seen.
I
He's
was actually
something crazy to work with.
I actually saw him for the first time in WWN in Tampa. That was where I first saw his work. He's really great. I like it.
Yeah, he's very good. He grew up in the business. He's a
good.
second generation star. I know his father was in TNA, a couple of things like that. But who else is on that card is what's interesting, because you have Carlito.
Yep,
You
I
have
saw that.
Primo. You have his name's not Chris Masters anymore.
Sam Adonis.
What is it?
Sam Adonis.
Sam Adonis?
Mm-hmm.
Well, to the don't know his new name, Chris Masters.
Yeah. You have those 3 huge stars that were very big turning points in WWE. From where you started to where you see yourself coming up on March 27th and on a card with those 3 guys that I get to be a part of that announce team. It's so amazing. But how to see where your career started to now and going into March 27th, that progression along the way, man, that's got to be very humbling, that every card that you go to now, there's a new face that was on national television that you could pick their brain and say, hey, how was this? Hey, how was that? You know, and then that leads you to the next rock, and that leads you to, or not next rock, but the next step. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's always great to work in locker rooms where there's, veterans, where guys that are, guys that are there that were in a place where I want to be someday. You know what I mean? It's always great. I would advise anybody coming up in the business to always pick the brain, and if they can catch a minute to go watch a match, you know what I mean, and give you some advice, then by all means do it. You know what I mean? Because that helps you, learn and get better, like I was saying earlier. So, I mean, it's humbling. It's humbling. And it's also, I'm always learning, bro. It's a learning process. You never stop learning when you're in this business. So for me to be in the locker room is an honor. And there's also, it feels like, because I've been in a lot of locker rooms with a lot of big names before, so it feels like, well, it's kind of like, well, another day in the office, but it's kind of more like, it's exciting because I'm a fan at the end of the day. I'm a fan first. And, it's always great to be in there with guys that I watch growing up and, pick their brains. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited. Anytime I have anybody in the locker room who was big, it's exciting.
Well, 2 guys that are going to be in the locker room that were completely opposite ends of the spectrum of the most lit superstar, Sebastian Cage, is the Headbangers, Mosh and Thrasher, will be in the locker room with you this Saturday at the anniversary show.
My main man, you don't miss my main man, Super Crazy. I know him personally. That's my man.
Yeah, Super Crazy to be in the locker room.
And I worked him before too. I had a match with him too.
Yeah, man, you're going to be surrounded by some legends this weekend. This is the next 2 weekends. Sebastian Cage is going to be on the card with some of the guys, some of the better wrestlers that have graced the ring. That were very underrated. They weren't The Rock. They weren't Stone Cold. They were the guys who carried the business in the 90s and the early 2000s. And those are the people that you get to share a ring with. And, you get to grace it with them. So that's kind of cool on your end, I'm sure.
I'm excited.
Very excited. Chris, what you got for the man?
If no one has seen a Sebastian Cage match, try to help them identify what is your style? Like who do you compare to, or who do you look up to mimic your
Well,
wrestling style?
I will say my style is very high flying and technical, with some charisma in there. Well, I have a lot of the inspirations will go for days. Some of my inspirations and people that I look up to, as far as like that I mimic and that I look, that I want to be like, or be like Eddie Guerrero, Jeff Hardy. My favorite wrestler of all time is Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio. It's a mixture of all those guys. You know what I mean? Like Amazing Red. I was a big fan of Amazing Red as well.
Oh, great wrestler. Part of one of my favorite
dude,
matches of all time. That X Division match was amazing.
His name was perceived who he was. He was amazing. Dude.
Yes.
Guys like AJ Styles, the list would go on forever if I go on with the names. But these are the guys more or less that I would say that my style is kind of like, it's like a mixture of all of those guys. And those are the guys that I think of when I get in the ring is, okay, I got to try to make this match the best match. Even if it's just one match, I always go out there and leave it all in the ring, because I remember watching them do it, and they will go out there and leave it all in the ring every single match. So those are kind of like the inspiration. Guys like Edge, back in the days, you know what I mean? And like, those are the guys, you know what I mean? That I mimic and I want to be like. So.
Like I said, it's not The Rock, it's not Stone Cold, it's not Triple H, it's those mid card guys that really mold who the wrestlers are now today and what they want to be. That's one of the things that I keep hearing is there's no more box office attractions inside WWE. There's no more Stone Cold, there's no more The Rock. Everybody's just kind of placed where they are. And I feel like that's such a horrible thing to say, because anybody can reach for that brass ring, and Sebastian Cage could be the next WWE champion main eventing WrestleMania, especially nowadays. And Bret Hart really turned that corner for a lot of people. He was transitioned from the big guy who ran the ring to the smaller guys who run the ring, to open up to Shawn Michaels and then Rey Mysterio and people like that. And
Eddie
was nobody. I hate to say it like that. In WCW, Eric Bischoff buried him. Bischoff made him nothing, and then him and Benoit, and I know we're not supposed to say name anymore, but him and Benoit went to WrestleMania and sold the place out in one of the biggest box offices ever. Box office ever.
That's
so it's like
favorite WrestleManias, bro. And it was in Madison Square Garden here in New York City.
Yeah,
and, but I think the thing is with WCW, with the lucha, but like the the light heavyweights and everything like that.
Yeah, the cruiserweights. Without them, it wouldn't have been as successful as they were.
It was a land of the big men. I mean, if you look at the cruiserweights they had at one period in time, you had Juventud Guerrero, you had Rey Mysterio, you had Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Psychosis.
Chris Jericho.
Yeah, Chris Jericho, Psychosis. The list goes
Shane Helms. How do we forget Shane Helms? Come on, guys.
I was talking
about bad, the Hurricane.
I was talking about good cruiserweights. Okay.
Jeez, whoa.
He was good, bro.
Shane Helms was the man. All right.
He was good, man.
The man.
He was really good in 3 count. He was really good in 3 count.
Dude, I do you know how hard it is to mix comedy with wrestling? You have to perfect that. And he did that. He can get in Undertaker's face, Kane's face, Stone Cold, The Rock. It didn't matter. He was going to crack them up and he was going to crack you up. And that's what Hurricane did best. As far as Sebastian Cage, as far as you go, what is your feeling with the whole comedy turn in wrestling? Do you want to get Mac more into that, not the kayfabe feel, but the realism feel? Because right now I feel like we see so much comedy inside wrestling. It's almost like even on WWE, AEW, anywhere you look, it's turned to funny.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's a real fan of the business, would like to go back to those days. You know what I mean? Because everybody knows that it's a show. I don't like to use all the terms that are kind of disrespectful to people who put their bodies on the line, like myself and many others. But it's a show, and it's an entertainment show. But at the end of the day, it felt good when I didn't know that it was just a show. That's what kept watching every week. It kept me. I believed in these characters. These were people that I like to say that they make my childhood amazing. They make my childhood great because I believed in these characters. These were real, larger than life stars that I admired, you know, to be someday. It was to the point where I would get in trouble in school because I didn't care about what was going on in school. I cared about what I just watched in wrestling, and that's all I wanted to talk about with my friends. You know, so you know
wait,
what I mean? Like, I
those
care
characters
about
weren't real.
that they were talking about. I cared about what just happened on Raw. Did you watch when Chris Benoit just beat up this guy, bro? That was amazing, dude. Did you remember that?
So
Brian Pillman just pulled a gun on Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
That was crazy, dude. That was like so real. It looked so real. You know?
That was a turning point for wrestling, man. Just took a complete 180 to another direction. It was ridiculous. The FCC had no idea a gun was going to be on TV. That was nuts.
Like, oh, it's all good. Like, let's rock. It's
so
not like bro, I grew up. It's like, bro, I grew up in my house with guns. Like, it's all good. I'm not.
Yeah,
surprised.
we're good. FCC, you're good. You're real life.
Yeah, man. Like, it's all good. I was a child, and I'm like, I know what that is.
So, one thing that I fell in love with was, like you said, touch based on getting lost in characters, getting lost in a match. I will be 100% honest with you. I was glued to a match at Homecoming day one. And that was Sebastian Cage and Will Austin. I got lost in the moment watching you two work. It's straight faced and all shoulders over here, man. It's legit. I got lost in that match with you guys. You guys tore the house down. Absolutely one of the best matches I've seen live. It was amazing to watch because you had the king of flight in South Florida versus the most lit superstar out of New York, Sebastian Cage. And it was two guys who were on a collision course to finally meet each other to a draw. It's amazing to see. Like,
did you hear the end result of the draw? The fans were yelling 5 more minutes.
I was one of them.
You know, it's funny. This is the crazy part about that match. So, you know, the match was exciting. Shout out to Will Austin. I call him the superstar. He knows the vibes.
His head's just getting bigger. His head's getting bigger.
It's growing. It's hot.
You know, it's funny. I wish we were the main event. I'm sure that the main event that night wishes that too, because we shut that crowd down. It was a wrap.
You could not follow that match.
Shut it down. I feel bad because after our match, they couldn't follow that. There was no following that. That was the end. You know what I mean? So in the match, you know, we went in, we did our thing. You know, I'm really proud of the match. I had a blast. And I remember, I guess Will was like, okay, Sebastian's more like veteran. He's been doing it longer. So when you guys are going, you know, 5 more minutes, let them fight. I was like, dude. So Will tells the ref, yo, what do we do? Tell Cage, what do we do? She comes up to me and she asks me, what do we do? In my mind, I'm like, you know what? Let's give them the 5 more minutes. Let's go for 5 more. This is what I'm thinking in my head. But then I'm like, I think about the main event and I'm like, you know what? Let me be a real general and just end it at that and not take away from the main event. Because we already did what we set out to do. You know what I mean? It's to steal the show. We did that. You know, I would have gave them the 5 more minutes if we were the main event, but there was a coming right after us. So I was like, you know what? You gotta be fair. So
I don't think you and Romeo.
Now that's it.
And Romeo backstage. I didn't want to see that one if you guys had started talking backstage. That's a big dude right there. I mean, I know Sebastian Cage holds his own with the biggest of them. That's a big dude in Romeo.
Yeah, I was like, nah, let's let them do their thing.
Let them do their thing.
We also have the triple threat after. So that's why I was, you know, whatever we didn't give them tonight, we're gonna give them tomorrow. So
exactly. And it was an amazing match with you, El Jefe Santos, and Will Austin fighting for
another
the title.
banger.
Another banger. So Chris, what do you have? Because I have about 10 more questions, but I know I'm not gonna be able to get them all in. So I'm thinking about the best ones to ask. So I'm gonna let you go ahead, Chris, and carry it on real quick.
So now we always ask this question, and we usually save it for the end, but with the likes of you, I want to ask you this question. You have 2 contracts sitting in front of you, same amount of dates, same pay, same everything. You have AEW, WWE. Who do you pick?
You know, That's funny. You know what I'm gonna pick, bro? And this is the I'm gonna let you go from what I'm gonna say. But I will pick longevity over money. That's
Okay.
what I would.
I'm gonna let that
Longevity.
answer slide.
That you'll figure it out from there. I'm looking for longevity. That's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now that can be taken one of two ways too, by the way. I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah, we're gonna let that to be interpretation. Have you ever seen John Cena's Instagram? It's open for interpretation on every picture. We're gonna leave this open for interpretation.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask real quick, the next so how old are you?
I am 29 years old, bro. I just turned 29.
34 years old. Where do we see Sebastian Cage?
34 and on TV for sure.
What channel?
Guaranteed.
What channel?
Interpretation.
Interpretation.
Longevity, baby. Longevity.
Open for interpretation.
Listen, wherever God takes me.
Look, I know that the doors are going to open wide for Sebastian Cage, and they will be open for a long time. And I am very excited to hopefully kind of go on this adventure with you. We don't want to ride coattails, but we want to make sure we stay attached to the people who are going to succeed, because that's what we want this podcast to do, is succeed. And that's why we bring on some of the most the biggest names, the most lit superstars in the indies, because who else are we going to bring on? Who we got to bring in? The rising guns, the stars, the future of tomorrow. And Sebastian Cage, I feel like a lot of that rests in your hands right now.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's a pleasure. You guys are great. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. We're very excited, man.
Let me just start by saying I really like you guys, because I don't like doing interviews. But for you guys, I have to take the time out and do that. So you already know, man.
Well, we appreciate that, Sebastian Cage. So we will see you Thursday night at Black Box, correct?
Sir. Make sure we get some videos up there. Make sure you bring me one of these shirts, bro. I want one of these shirts.
Oh, 100%. Large?
I'm a medium.
Medium?
Make sure
medium? Large?
Yeah, I'm a medium. Get me a medium. I'll wear it.
100%. 100%. I'm gonna have your shirt ready this Thursday night when we see you there. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been Sebastian Cage, the most lit superstar in the game, coming straight out of New York. Chris, you have anything else for this man?
No, we're good. We squared away.
I think we're squared away. Ladies and gentlemen, the rest is open for interpretation. But at this time, Sebastian Cage, I give every guest. I see your wrestling. I know what your wrestling looks like. I want to hear the promo. So Sebastian Cage, you have 60 seconds. I want you to cut the most lit promo that the Wrestling Paradox podcast has ever had.
This is the lit superstar Sebastian Cage, coming straight out of New York City, man. It's cold up here, but you're about to see me in Florida real soon in CCW. And, no matter who I'm facing, what's going to happen is going to happen. But I'm still going to come out with a W. I'm still going to be lit. You guys are still going to get entertained. And you make sure that you check out, this dope-ass podcast, because this is the best one out here in the wrestling business today. You know why? Because I'm lit. And they're lit.
And we're lit, baby.
Everybody out there, go check my social media, my YouTube channel, Sebastian Cage, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, every single platform on social media, Sebastian Cage. Go check it out. Go follow me. Go like, subscribe, post, all of that. And go support my peoples over here, man. I don't do interviews, but for my peoples over here, I had to pull one out. So you know what? It's lit. Thank you guys for having me.
It's lit. Definitely it's lit. Hey, Chris, you know how lit it is? You got to say something stupid now.
Something stupid.